Hey guys, Pie Guy Rules here, and welcome back to the topic of discussion. Today's topic is about a cartoon that is very influential. More specifically, The Simpsons. Yes, The Simpsons. Whoa. Yeah. The show is great. I've talked about it a little bit in the past, but I don't think I've really gotten through the point of how awesome this show used to be. See, if you grew up with The Simpsons, like, now, you might not realize it, but the show was incredibly original for its time. Like, way, way back. Man, shows weren't like this. There wasn't animation for families. You know, there was the Flintstones way back when, but there really wasn't this. You know, there was either animation that was for kids, which was most animation, or the rare animation that was, you know, really dirty, like Fritz the Cat, and that was explicitly for adults. But The Simpsons was a middle ground. Although they covered adult subjects sometimes, there are specific episodes where it's not necessarily kid-friendly or family-friendly, but for the most part, the episodes were fairly family-friendly. You know, like I said, occasionally they delved into places that kids shouldn't go, and occasionally they skewed a little bit younger, but almost every Simpsons episode has something for the young and the old, and that's probably the greatest thing about it. See, back when The Simpsons first started, the first 2 seasons, it was a really rough show. I talked a little bit about it in my Rugrats retrospective, but Klasky Csupo did the animation for the first 2 seasons. The show almost never got off the ground because of them. You see, Simpsons used to be shorts on Tracy Ullman, and the Tracy Ullman Show, and they used to be incredibly rough, you know, they used to be like a minute-long sketches. Alright, well, rough animation would work for that, but it's not going to work for a half-hour format. They had to clean up their act a little bit. And when they sent it away to Klasky Csupo, they got back garbage. Like, the show looked awful. And for this show to be taken seriously by adults, it couldn't be this super cartoony, you know, mess of a show that Klasky Csupo gave them back. So they ordered to have it, like, most of the episodes redone, and the worst, you know, the best episode, the least horrible looking, was going to be their first episode, which was actually their supposed to be last episode, you know, the infamous First Christmas episode. So the show almost didn't happen. Like, that's one of the most amazing things about it. And heck, when Matt Groening went in to pitch a show, he was originally going to pitch Life in Hell, his cartoon. You know, he used to have a written cartoon. He was going to pitch that, but at the last minute, he was all like, maybe I shouldn't, just in case this turns out to be a flop. I want to keep my own intellectual property. So he kind of sketched out an idea of his family, very loosely based off of his family. And that's where The Simpsons were first created. I know I'm bouncing around a little bit, but I'm just so excited about this topic. Because it seriously is an amazing set of coincidences that The Simpsons just kind of happened. So, yeah, when they first premiered, it was a big hit. I mean, it was a hit right off the bat, and even though the first season was incredibly rough, and if you watch them now, kind of painful to sit through, some of them. The Christmas episode, to me, is still a classic, and I watch it every year, but a lot of them are kind of painful to watch. Eventually, after the second season, really early third season, although kind of mid-second season, the show really settled into what it is today. You know, Homer's voice used to be a Walter Matthau impression, which, if you don't know who that is, and I didn't, it's much less cartoony, much more like an old-style gentleman would speak. Not a gentleman, but like someone from the 50s. And I mean, Homer, even in the first season, did really, like, out-of-character things. Like, they hadn't nailed his character down yet. He actually sold the family TV because his family was embarrassing him, and he wanted to pay for therapy lessons for them. Therapy for them. Yeah, that's really out of character for Homer. But by the mid-second, early third seasons, the show really settled into what it is known as today, or what it was known as, is that it was a comic genius. And what I think really made the show was the fact that there was a lot of heart to it. Was that these weren't just throwaway cartoon characters like Mickey Mouse or something, where, you know, he had these wacky adventures and then that was it. These felt like real people. You know, they had their occasionally cartoony moments, as time went on, the plots got more and more ridiculous, but at its heart, they still felt like real people with real emotions. When something happened, the characters really, felt a certain way. It wasn't just like, X was brushed off. X was, elaborated on, and we got to see how characters reacted to it. The show had a real heart, and if you want to see that, look at the episode, let's see, Lisa's Substitute, where Lisa gets a substitute teacher who's really nice to her, and like the only person in town who understands her and nurtures her intellect, but unfortunately, being a substitute teacher, he leaves after a while, and Lisa's all heartbroken. It's a show with a lot of emotion, and a lot of heart. And another one, Bart the Lover, where Bart starts off as a mischievous prankster, as he always is, and decides to write a letter to Mrs. Krabappel, his teacher, telling her that, he is actually, this strange man that is, like, alluring. Like, he writes all these things that she thinks she would want in a man. He thinks she would want in a man, and he writes it, and he comes up with a pen name, and she thinks it's an actual person. And Bart, chuckles at this. It's funny. But then as time goes on, he realizes how sad her life really is, that this man, this fake man, is the best thing that's happened to her, and he doesn't have the heart to break it off with her. And so he goes to his family, and it's a really heartfelt episode, and it shows that for even as Bart is a little, menace that he is, he still has heart. Another good episode for that is Marge Be Not Proud, I believe. Another Christmas episode. A lot of the Christmas episodes have a lot of heart, where Bart wants a video game really badly, and he doesn't want to wait till Christmas, so he steals it from the store. He tries to anyway, and a security guard catches him. And he's all like, oh man, my parents are gonna flip out when they find out about this, da 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 da. And Marge doesn't flip out. She's just disappointed in him. She doesn't see him as innocent anymore. And Bart can't stand it. She's not outwardly mean to Bart, but she doesn't treat Bart the way she treats Lisa, like a child. And Bart's all sad, and he really feels bad and really tries to penance for his actions. And eventually he does something really sweet, which I won't spoil, but, saves the day in the end. And those episodes are what The Simpsons are all about, to me. And that's why I feel like at a certain point, I can't pinpoint exactly. A lot of people will say like 13th season, 14th season, 15th season, whatever. But at a certain point, The Simpsons really lost its heart. I don't think it lost its edge necessarily, but it lost its heart and it lost its ability to tell a really good, heartwarming story. It became closer to Family Guy than, an actual show with actual heart. Because that's the difference between The Simpsons and Family Guy. On Family Guy, there's a lot of times when the family doesn't care about each other. On The Simpsons, the family is always supposed to love each other at the end of the day. And I feel like they forgot about that somewhere. I feel like their main focus shifted to just trying to make you laugh, which was always a part of the show, but it should never be at the expense of the heart of the characters, if you know what I'm trying to say here. And that's not to say that all more recent episodes are awful. They're not. In fact, the recent episodes in the movie, in fact, is what got me into The Simpsons in the first place. They're all right. They range from absolutely abysmal to, wow, they're recycling a plot that they already did, to, hey, you know what? This episode is actually pretty good. A good, more recent episode, I guess it's not that recent, but this Eternal Moonshine of the Simpsons Mind or something like that. I do believe it's in like season 19 or 20 or something. It's close to being right after the movie. And it's an interesting episode. It delves into, Homer's memories and stuff. A neat concept, a little bit cartoony, but I thought it was a solid episode. And you'll find some solid episodes, even in the current seasons, but it used to be that The Simpsons would hit one out of the park every episode. It used to be that, every episode was a new, clever idea, and it wasn't just, Homer quits his job and becomes an X, or, Lisa is upset and takes upon X cause, or Bart causes trouble. And there's a lot of episodes in recent times where you can tell that they don't care as much. It's very much the same thing that happened to SpongeBob. And it's sad, and I think Doug Walker said it best, the Nostalgia Critic, as he's known, but he said it best when he said, everyone just kind of wishes the show would be over, because then we can remember it, and remember it for what a great show that it was. It's hard to look back on something that's still going on. and at this point they are kind of beating a dead horse. Fox simply renews it pretty much out of habit more so than anything else. And it still gets attention and it still gets viewership, so I mean, good for them. And they're definitely nowhere near as bad as the newer SpongeBob episodes are. So, yeah, that's about all I got to say. Let me know your opinion of The Simpsons. I highly recommend this show. If you're above the age of maybe like 12 or something like that, you should really look up this show. The golden seasons for me are probably like 4 through 10, 9, something like that. I don't know. But up to, I think season 14 or 15 is on DVD. And then they also have season 20, which they released out of order because they can. But yeah, there's a lot of seasons on DVD. You can get them cheap. You can even get them used places. Or you can buy them on iTunes. So, yeah, I highly recommend the older episodes. But not too old. Don't get too old or else things get a little bit wonky, season 1. But, yeah, that's all I got to say. Pie Guy Rules, out.